Yes, people. Before I get started with this, I may need to get some more whiskey. I have some things to announce, aside from the fact that I need more whiskey. I'm probably going to start doing my own live streams on Rumble, either every week or second week on a Tuesday evening about 9 p.m. GMT, so 3 p.m. Eastern Standard for those of you living over in Yankee Land. I did one on Tuesday past with my friend Vex Electronica, and yes, that is on my Rumble, which is linked down below. Do go ahead and go over there if you haven't done so already. We're thinking of calling it the Wang and the Whitelist, which is such a good name, actually. And speaking of the Wang Wisdom, I will do a separate video on this article because my word, the cope is chef's kiss glorious. But I read this and proceeded to laugh my bollocks off. Elon Musk and other DEI critics are latching onto MEI, a new hiring catchphrase that experts say misses the point. Which experts? Do tell. Critics of corporate diversity, equity, and inclusion, otherwise known as people who want to make a business successful without having BlackRock giving them a makeshift prostate exam, initiatives are latching on to a new initialism dubiously similar to DEI. Meet MEI, short for Merit, Excellence, and Intelligence, and coined by Alexander Wang, co-founder and CEO of Scale AI, a startup valued at $4 billion that provides companies with labeled data used to train artificial intelligence models. Wang Wisdom, people, my mimetic catchphrase has become an actual business. But speaking of the Wang Wisdom, because one type of comment that I see frequently is people like how I phrase some things, explain things they always felt like they knew, but could never quite articulate. I'm the pen in your head that connects the dots, basically. So how do I analyze things? How does one channel the Wang Wisdom? Well, first off, let's answer the most pertinent question here, shall we? Does one need a Wang to channel the Wang Wisdom? You do not. Anyone can channel the Wang Wisdom, though I will admit it will come to you more naturally if you happen to be a guy, for obvious reasons. If ladies channel Wang Wisdom, that is a skill I would suggest you approach with caution. But anyway, as I've said previously, I often scoff at people who claim to be logical and rational. Those things mean nothing by themselves. They are analytical mechanisms. Anyone who claims to be logical and rational are declaring themselves to be nothing more than a bunch of tools. And if you've met these types, I'm sure many of you would attest this is a rather accurate summation. Considering I analyze politics and things connected to them, I use the following formula. What is the purported function of X? Does it function as stated? Are there potentially unintended consequences? Are they actually unintended? If X still persists, why? Who benefits from the persistence? And that's basically it. Now keep in mind this can scale in complexity based on the variable X, as well as the depth of the answers at each step, who's answering them, etc., etc. The further down the list you go, the heavier and down the rabbit hole you will go, so to speak. You start getting entanglements with money, power, personalities, regions, and definitely nothing to do with banking. The further you go, the more elaborate the questions can become because you're adding more information. Naturally then, you start adding some previously unexamined elements to be analyzed through logic and rationality. Once you start getting into perceptions of the unintended consequences being a feature, not a bug, a function, that's when most people start checking out. Especially when the function is outside of their perspective for whatever reason, be this ideological, moral, etc., etc. Moving away from what is acceptable outside of the Overton window into simply what works for who and what is the goal. High IQ required. At this point, this is where you start reading older literature, especially when you start getting into heretical perspectives. I'll give an example. Let's use DEI. What is the purported function of DEI? Introduce non-European diversity and anti-traditionalist narratives. Does it function as stated? Insofar as there is less Europeans in positions of authority. Are there potentially unintended consequences? Yes, everything that has an increase of diversity tanks in quality and increases in cost. Conversely, it makes Europeans look better, because everything that lacks diversity is still more like than functional. Are they actually unintended? Apparently, yes. Apparently the powers that be pushing that nonsense are actually stupid enough to believe the sole reason why Europeans have dominated centuries of history is oppression and nothing else, and not because we're objectively better and make better civilizations. How do I deduce that? Well, migration patterns for one, and because the only parts post the colonial period that didn't deteriorate had Europeans picking up the reins. Totally a coincidence, that is, I'm sure. The whole scheme looks completely absurd. If DEI persists, why? Politics, and because it's kept afloat by money, for whatever reason. Who on earth knows? I said it's because they're buying the ability to destroy organs of production. Who benefits from DEI's persistence? Again, who on earth knows, but if I had to take a guess, destroying cultural production organs, devaluing them, makes them cheaper to eventually buy. Again, very brief summation, but yeah, there you go. Oh yeah, one last thing before I go. If you're going to go against the grain, expressing opinions against the masses, you're going to piss people off. So it is of vital importance that you gain some thicker skin, and most importantly, a giant ego as you stand against a horde of whinging morons and to finally declare, these are my opinions, and if you don't like it, you are free to bend over and kiss my fucking ass. Cheers for watching, and once again, I apologize for nothing.